Okay, Wildcats. Today we're going to have journal page 38, solving real-world rational equations. Solving real-world rational equations steps. Step 1, identify the important information. Step 2, complete the table. Step 3, write the equation. Step 4, solve the equation. All right, if you would update your notes. All right. Example 1. A saving percentage in lacrosse is found by dividing the number of saves by the number of shots faced. A lacrosse goalie saved 5 of 16 shots. How many additional consecutive saves, X, must the goalie make to raise his percentage to 0.65? Okay? All right. Step 1, identify the important information. Okay? The goalie saved 5 shots, and the goalie faced 16 shots. Okay? The goalie's current save percentage is 5 divided by 16, which is 0.313. And let's just verify that real quick. 5 divided by 16. And so we're rounding to the third decimal place. Okay. All right. Step 2, complete the table. All right, so our target save percentage is 0. And since I did 3 decimal places here, I'm just going to do 3 decimal places when needed. Okay. Now the shots saved is 5 plus X, and the shots faced would be 16 plus X. Okay. All right, so to write the equation, shots saved would be 5 plus X divided by 16 plus X, and that equals the target save percentage, which is 0.650. Okay. All right. Now in this one, when you get to the assignment, you're just gonna be asked to write the equation. So we're gonna stop here and we'll solve some of the other examples. Okay. So if you would update that. All right. Oh, move it down so you can read it. Jake can mulch a garden in 30 minutes. Together, Jake and Ross can mulch the same garden in 18 minutes. How much time T in minutes will it take Ross to mulch the garden when working alone? Write the equation in the form Jake's rate times minutes worked plus Ross's rate times minutes worked equals 1. And I have the time symbol, but let's go ahead and put those in parentheses. Okay. All right. Step 1, identify the important information. Jake can mulch a garden in 30 minutes. Okay. And then Jake and Ross can mulch the same garden. And let me read this, make sure I read. And you might have to sometimes reread the word problem because there's a lot of information. Jake can mulch a garden in 30 minutes. Together, Jake and Ross can mulch the same garden in 18 minutes. So, okay. So it says Jake and Ross can mulch the same garden in 18 minutes. All right. All right. Now, step 2, complete the table. Okay. Now, gardens mulched is 1 for Jake and 1 for Ross. Okay, there's only one garden to be mulched. Okay. The mulch time is 30 minutes for Jake Now, we don't know the time T for Ross. Now, the work rate will be 1 garden divided by 30 minutes. That's the rate for Jake, okay? Now, Ross time will be 1 garden in T minutes, okay? All right, so we're going to write the equation, okay? So Jake's rate. Well, Jake's rate is 1 divided by 30 times the minutes worked together, which in this case, the minutes worked together is 18, plus Ross's rate, okay, which is Ross's rate is 1 divided by T times minutes worked is 18, and that equals 1. Okay, so the equation to determine how long it takes rods to mulch alone is, well, if you just multiply that, I think I would want to multiply that to put it on top, but I think the format they want is going to be in this form. 1 divided by 30 times 18 plus 1 divided by T times 18 equals 1. And again, when you do this problem on HRW, they're just asking the equation, not to solve it. So we're going to stop here for this problem. Okay, so if you would finish up example 2. Okay, let's take a look at example 3. Okay, a new ice rink will be approximately rectangular in shape and will have an area of 13,601 square feet. Using the equation for the perimeter P of the skating rink in terms of its width W, what are the dimensions of the skating rink if the perimeter is 540 feet? Okay. So step 1, identify the important information. The perimeter of the rink is 540. Okay. The area of the rink is 13,601. Okay. Now step 2, we're going to write and solve the equation. Okay. So first off, we need to know that area equals length times width, and the perimeter equals 2 times length plus 2 times width. Okay. So let's plug in the information for the area formula and the perimeter formula and see what we have. So the area is 13,601 equals the length. Let's see, we don't know, and the width we don't know. Okay. Now the perimeter we know is 540 equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Okay. So now what we need is one equation with one variable. So what we need to do is take the area equation, solve for either L or W, okay, and then substitute that in so we have one variable here, okay? So let's take the area equation. So 1,361 equals length times width. It really doesn't matter what you solve, but let's go ahead and solve for length. So we're going to divide both sides by W, okay? Well, W divided by W is 1. So we have the length equals 13,601 divided by W. Okay? So we're going to substitute that, and here, you know what? I'm just going to erase it because that's just 1. And so it's easier to see now that L equals that. Okay? Because this is just 1. 1 times L. Okay? So, and I guess, you know what? I'll kind of keep it there, but I'll put the 1 through it. So you know that's just 1. Okay? Because I don't see a point of rewriting L equals this. Okay? So now we're going to substitute that in for L here. So 540 equals 2 times, now L is equal to this, 13,601 divided by W plus 2W. Okay? All right? So now we have an equation with one variable we're going to solve. Okay? So we can't have a denominator, so we need to multiply everything by the denominator, which in this case is W. Okay, so we're going to multiply everything by W. And that means I need to extend this line. Here. Okay. All right, so now we multiply everything by W. So, and we had to multiply everything because of the equality. Okay, so W times 540 is 540W equals W times 2 is 2W times 1,361 divided by W plus W times 2W is 2W squared. Okay? All right? So now you can see that W divided by W is 1. Okay? So the denominator is gone. And so we have 540 W equals 13,600. Oh, wait. Almost made a mistake. We need to multiply 2 times that. Okay? With these types of problems, you want to go very slowly and cautiously so you don't make a mistake. 2 times 1,361 is, and make sure, check my work. Yep, so it's 27,202 plus 2W squared. Okay? All right. So what we need to do is have everything on one side. Okay? So we need to subtract 540W from both sides. Putting it here because it's not, doesn't go under the number and it doesn't go over W squared. It's actually going to go in the middle between these. Okay? So when you do that, you get 0 equals 2,202 minus 540W plus 2W squared. Okay? So now let's go ahead and rewrite that up here. So 2W squared minus 540W plus 27,202 equals 0. Okay? At this point, we need to factor this. Okay? And the first thing we can do is we can actually factor by 2. So basically what we're going to do is divide everything by 2. Okay? And actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and divide it out. Okay, instead of factoring. Okay, because of the equality, what we do to one thing, as long as we do it to everything, we can do that. So we're going to divide everything by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's 1W squared minus, okay, and again, I recommend this little calculator that I think your Chromebook has. It's very useful. 540 to, oh, not times, 540 divided by 2 is 270 W plus, well, interesting fact, we multiplied 13,601 times 2 and got that, but now we're dividing by 2. We know it's 13,601, and that equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. Okay? All right? So now we need to factor this. Okay? We know 2 parentheses equals 0. We know that W times W is W squared. Now we need to find out what numbers multiply to give you 13,601 and combine to be negative 270. So they have to be 2 negative numbers. Okay, 2 negative numbers multiply to give you a positive and combine to be negative. Okay, this is where I recommend using Desmos. And let me show you what we can do. Okay, so I'm going to go to Google, Desmos table and graph. Okay, function table, we've done this before. Okay, now we want to delete. I close that out. So we want to delete the points that they have, and then what we want to do, an easy way to find factors, okay, is take the number you're trying to find factors of, 13,601, divided by x, okay, and then this is what we're going to do. We start with -1. We know that -1 times -1 equals 13,601. And here's something cool that Desmos to do. We want to see if they combine to be 270. So if I do this, come over here and do x plus f of x, that's going to add them, okay? And so that's definitely not negative 270. So now we do -2, okay? We're way far from 270. So I'm even just going to go to -3, -4, -5, -6. Oh, cool. Now I can just press enter, okay? And so we're getting close, but I'm just going to keep going, okay? In essence of your time, I don't want to waste your time. I'm just going to keep going quite a bit. And then, voila, once you know, they combine to be -270. Okay, so our factors are x minus 67 and x minus 203. Okay, so that's w minus 67, w minus 203. Okay, at this point, we set them equal to 0, so w minus 67 equal to 0, w minus 203 equal to 0. Okay. So add 67 to both sides. So W equals 67. And plus 203 to both sides. W equals 203. Okay. And that actually is your dimensions of the rink. So the dimensions of the rink are 67 feet by 203 feet. Pretty fun problem. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And that should, again, be very useful when you work on your assignment for HRW. Okay. All right, so go and finish that up. All right, example 4. Okay. Last example. Okay. A riverboat travels at an average of 14 kilometers per hour in still water. The riverboat travels 130 kilometers east up the Wildcat River and 130 kilometers west down the Wildcat River in a total of 19.5 hours. To the nearest tenth of a kilometer per hour, what was the speed of the current of the river? So I'm going to give you a minute or a few moments to write that down. All right. Step 1, identify the important information. The answer will be the average speed of the current. Okay. The boat traveled for a total of 130 kilometers. Hold on, wait. Make sure I read that right. Oh, I'm sorry. Misread that. A boat traveled for a total of 19.5 hours. Okay. The boat traveled east up the river 130 kilometers, and the boat traveled west down the river 130 kilometers. Okay. Let C represent the speed of the current in kilometers per hour. When the boat is going upstream, the speed is equal to its speed in still water minus C. When the boat is going downstream, the speed is equal to the speed in still water plus C. So the distance upstream, let me give you a minute to write down step 1. Okay, the distance, let me actually take a step back. having so much fun with this problem, I forgot to read. Step 2, once you've gotten the important information, complete the table. Okay. Now, distance upstream is 130. Okay. The distance downstream is 130. Now, this is where it's very important. When the boat is going upstream, we're talking about upstream right now, okay, the speed is equal to its speed in still water minus c. So the speed, okay, and we want to go back through here, and let's look. A riverboat travels at an average of 14 kilometers per hour, so that's our speed. Okay, so our speed is 14 minus c upstream. And the reason why it's minus is because when you go upstream, you go slower, okay, because you're going against the current. Okay, now the time will be 130 divided by 14 minus c. Okay, now downstream, you go faster, you're going with the current, so that's going to be your speed 14 plus c. Okay, so your time will be 130 divided by 14 plus c. Okay, so we're going to write the equation. All right, step 3. So your equation is time upstream plus time downstream equals total time. So your time upstream is 130 divided by 14 minus c plus time downstream, which is 130 divided by 14 plus c equals your total time, which is 19.5. Okay. All right, so now you have the equation. Okay, so finish writing that up. All right. Now in step 4, we're going to solve the equation. So let's rewrite it. So that's 130 divided by 14 minus c plus 130 divided by 14 plus c, and that equals 19.5. Okay. All right. Now, to solve, we need to multiply by the common denominator. And that's easy. The common denominator is 14 minus c times 14 plus c. Okay, so then that's 130 times 14 minus c divided by 14 minus c plus 130. Ooh, oh, almost made a mistake. Again, you want to be very careful with these word problems. The mistake I made is I forgot to multiply by 14 minus c times 14 plus c. So that's 14 plus c plus 130 times 14 minus c times 14 plus c divided by 14 plus c. Notice that I write those so they line up so they'll divide and become 1. Okay? And then it equals 19.5 times 14 minus c, 14 plus c. I had to write that kind of small because I ran out of room, but basically it's this times that. Okay? And I'll write this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see on the next line. Okay? So then that divides and becomes 1. That divides and becomes 1. Okay? Now we have 130 times 14 plus c plus 130 times 14 minus c equals, and this is where I'll write it bigger, 19.5 times 14 minus c times 14 plus c. Okay? And if you do this correctly, the denominators will go away. They did. Now, we need to distribute the 130 here, okay? And I don't know what 130 times 14 is, so let's use a calculator. So 130 times 14 is 1,820. So that's 1,820 plus 130C, okay, plus 1,820 minus 130C equals. Now, we're going to need to FOIL this and multiply it by 19.5, but I'm going to do that on the next step, because we're going to need more space, okay, to do that. All right. Well, 1820 and 1820, let's just use the calculator here. And we just multiply, plus 1820 is 3,640, so that's 3,640. Well, we're done with these. Now, 130C minus 130C cancel, so we're done with that. Equals, now we can FOIL that, so 19.5 times, let's do that. 14 times 14 is, 14 times 14 is 196, so that's 196. 14 times positive C is plus 14C, and then negative C times 14 is negative 14C, and then negative C times C is minus 1C squared. Okay. Now we see that 14C minus 14C, that cancels. Okay. So then we have 3,640 equals, let's go ahead and multiply 19.5 times this term and this term. So 19.5, make sure you look for the numbers you're typing in, because it's so easy to accidentally multiply wrong. 19.5 times 196 equals 3,822. So it's 3,822 minus 19.5 times 1C squared is 19.5C squared. Okay. At this point, we're going to now start to solve for C. We're going to subtract 3,822 from both sides. Okay. That becomes 0, so that cancels. Okay. Let's do 3,640 minus 3,822 equals negative 182. So that's negative 182 equals negative 19.5C squared. Divide both sides by negative 19.5. Okay, this divides, it becomes 1. And so let's do, where's my calculator? Oh, there's my calculator. All right, so 182 negative divided by 19.5 negative equals 9.3. Okay, something worries me. Nope, they just don't apparently want to have a fun decimal with this problem. That's correct. So what I recommend, when that rounds to be not so much of a nice decimal, let's just go ahead and do this. Let's leave it at, well, first off, let's not write the 9 point da da da. Let's just negative divided by negative is positive. So 182 divided by 19.5 equals C squared. Okay. Let's take the square root and we'll do the rounding at the end. Okay, now remember, square root's plus or minus. Okay, now when you take the square root of a squared, you're left with C equals. Now, I've been using this calculator, but it occurred to me that why don't we use Desmos scientific calculator. And that might be what I might start using in the future, because I think it makes working the problems a little bit easier, because you can put it all in one line of work. 182 divided by 19.5. So let me formally apologize to you for using this calculator. It's functionally works, but I think let's start using Desmo Scientific, because you can see that does the math much more efficiently, I think. All right, and so this is what I mean. If we wait till the end to get the decimal now, let's go ahead and leave this to one decimal place, because that's what the answer is going to be on HRW. So the 5 rounds a 0 up to 1. So C equals plus or minus 3.1. Okay. So the solution C equals negative 3.1 does not make sense in context, because the speed of the current cannot be negative. Therefore, the speed of the current is about 3.1 kilometers per hour. Okay, so go ahead and finish up your examples and have a wonderful Wildcat day.